So while world leaders and business moguls are gathered in Davos, Switzerland, discussing the topic, responsive and responsible leadership, here in West Africa, Yahya Jammeh of the Gambia was being booted out of office, and the man who won the election, his opponent, has been sworn in a neighboring country. That's interesting, isn't it? So let's get a bit sense of more of how do we benefit from this Davos 2017 in the ECOWAS sub-region. Vanessa Munga is the head of West and Central Africa at the World Economic Forum. She's joining us on the telephone from the ski resorts in Switzerland to give us a sense of some of these stories and what West Africa has been doing. Good afternoon, Vanessa.
Thank you. Good afternoon.
Thank you. It's good to hear you. We understand how everybody is getting to wrap up this very important summit. But hold on a second, Vanessa. How does it hit you that responsive and responsible leadership is being discussed in Davos? Meantime, in the Gambia, Yahya Jammeh is being pushed out of office, even though he lost an election.
Well, that's a very good question, and that tells us about the need, to me, it's a testimony of the need to have that kind of dialogue, because more than ever, we live in a multipolar world with a lot of diversity of cultures, ethnicities, religions, and for that, we need responsive and responsible leadership, because the quality of our leaders is really central to our future trajectory, especially when you look at the diversity we have in Africa. So what does responsive mean? To me, it means a leader that's in tune with its population, that's sensitive to their needs, that provides for their basic necessities. Responsible means being representing your country and acting on its behalf with an unwavering moral compass that's anchored in very strong values and a commitment to public service. That's what every citizen in the world and in Africa should be able to expect from its leaders. And here in Davos, we've been trying to foster these conversations between leaders of the public and the private sector, bringing in voices from the youth communities, from civil society, to really question, to really tackle that topic and find new solutions to address today's problems. Now, the reality is that global challenges have different solutions locally. So what's happening in Gambia is different from what's happening in other parts of the world. What I'm happy to see is that we're talking about it amongst Africans. And this is really a question of leadership, of expectations. And I'm looking forward to seeing what's going to happen.
Yes, Vanessa, you've been engaged with the young global leaders within the ECOWAS sub-region. You're part of some of a number of initiatives within the sub-region. How much has been achieved?
Well, the young global leaders are an extraordinary community of people under 40 that have already achieved a number of things and have showed an incredible potential for global leadership. So what the forum does is really just connect them to our platform so they can scale up their impact. Some of them are working in government, in the private sector, in civil society, and they didn't need the forum to be impactful. But we're really hoping that by bringing them into the platform, by recognizing them, we can help them get in touch with new partners so that they can scale up their solutions. I also want to recognize the community of global shapers of the World Economic Forum. These are young people under 30 that also show tremendous potential for leadership, that are also very committed to making a difference at the local level. Today we have about 500 hubs in the world of global shapers, and one of the hubs in Nigeria, in Abuja, was actually participating in Davos from Abuja. They hosted a session called Shaping Davos, and they were connected to us via a two-way live stream on the topic of bridging the urban-rural divide. And I really want to commend the community of young people. They're extraordinary. They have projects around entrepreneurship, empowerment. They do mentorship, and then they just celebrated their 5th anniversary. So they're great, and I encourage you to look them up. You should also talk to them and ask them what the forum's value has been to them so far.
Okay. Thank you very much, Vanessa, for weighing in on that conversation today. Of course, that's a bit of a summary of what has happened over the last 3 days. Vanessa Munga, who is the head of WEF in West and Central Africa. And she just talked about entrepreneurship there. And one African, a Nigerian-born, Tony Limelu, has been promoting entrepreneurship innovation among Africans, giving the funds to thousands and thousands of young Africans who have great ideas about innovation and creativity. And this is part of what Tony Lumelu, the chairman of the Lumelu Foundation, says at WEF on the sidelines of the summit being concluded today.
Responsive and responsible leadership cuts across. It's not just about entrepreneurship, it's about leadership. Leadership in private sector, leadership in public sector. In Africa, our entrepreneurs need helping hand. They need support, our young entrepreneurs. And I think it behoves all of us as leaders in Africa, both private sector leaders and public sector leaders, to be responsive and responsible to these young Africans. Because if they succeed, we succeed as a continent. I think, in my viewpoint, for some time we have not paid good attention to them. And the good thing is that people are now realizing this, realizing the fact that these people, these young men and women from our continent are the future of the continent. And that if we don't do something to give them economic hope, encouragement, and to empower them economically, what is today demographic joy or boom could become demographic disaster for us. So we have to do something to give them encouragement, hope, and make sure that we lead them or support them in a responsible fashion. Everything we discuss here, to a large extent, yes, in terms of theme, in terms of the soundbite, they sound good, but the truth is, as I've said in the past, and I'm going to say, we should move from talking to doing, from talking to action. And Davos as a forum does its best by bringing people together and putting in front of all of us themes or topical issues. But what happens beyond Davos is more important than what we discuss in Davos. I would say that African leaders come to Davos, and when we go back, if some of us try to implement some of the takeaways from Davos, but we can still do more, we can still do better. We can do better with our friends and partners from all over the globe. But we have to continue to show and lead by example. And that, again, is why the issue of responsibility and responsiveness of leaders, whether public sector or private sector, is one that we should be talking about.
Tony Elumelu there in Davos. Now, the European Union has given Zambia about $69 million to expand electricity supplies in the continent's second biggest copper producer. And the country facing a power deficit that has hit mining and agriculture sectors. In a statement, the EU said the grant will fund projects to provide access to reliable and affordable electricity to at least 63,000 households and small businesses. Meantime, East Africa's largest economy, Kenya, is looking at raising about $800 million in syndicated loans that the authorities need to boost foreign currency reserves and plug a widening budget deficit. 4 international organizations that include Citigroup, the Standard Bank Group, the Standard Chartered, and Rand Merchant Bank have been appointed to arrange the financing. The funds are expected to be made available to Kenyan authorities by February. That's next month, isn't it? Okay, everyone, thank you very much for watching. Wherever you are at this time, this is from Channels Television in Lagos. I am Busi Namabayi. I'll see you again. Bye for now.